Why is life not fair? And to be honest, I don't have the expectation to answer all these big questions around that topic. But what I do have is I do have a one-sentence prayer, and it's written in the Bible. And I believe and experience it myself that it can be a way out of an unfair life, of unfair circumstances, of a painful life. So let's just dive into the Bible verse where the prayer is written. It's in 1 Chronicles 4, verse 9 to 10, where it says, Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. His mother had named him Jabez, saying, I gave birth to him in pain. Jabez cried out to the God of Israel, oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me and keep me from harm, so that I will be free from pain. And God granted his request. When you feel the same like I do, I feel like, that Jabez prayer, I heard so many messages about it. I read so many books and so many journals are around. It looks to me like that. So I was done with that Jabez prayer because I thought everyone knows it. Everyone has took out anything of these two verses that might be possible. And to be honest, I'm really admire this person who read out of a long list of names that are very difficult to pronounce. I mean, at least for me, that one could read so focused on this name list to find this Jabez, and that is a little bit different described than the other names. I'm very impressed about that, not to say less than that. And but I was done with that prayer, and when we came up with that prayer book with that 31 different prayers, it was Leo, to be honest, that he brought in the idea of the Jabez prayer. I said, no, everyone is done with that prayer. But why not? Because 31 prayers are a lot of different prayers, so maybe we can use the Jabez prayer. This is my background about this prayer. Nevertheless, I took the book and I was reading through the Jabez prayer when all of a sudden I realized that I had to learn a lot, even today, from this prayer. I started to pray it, and when I came to the sentence where it says, God, please bless me, I said, no, God, no. I don't want to bother you. I'm really fine. Look, my leather jacket, my white shoes, and even now my pink e-scooter. I have so many blessings in my life. I have a beautiful family. I have a lovely husband, 2 great sons, and now even a daughter-in-law. I'm so blessed. I don't want to bother you. For sure, you have so many other people you need to bless. Don't bother about me. I'm fine. I'm really fine. So then I went to the next sentence where it says, or to the next phrase where it says, enlarge my territory. And again, it was me telling God, no, really not. I mean, not that I want to be unsuccessful in purpose, but I said, God, you see, ICF, a big church with a whole movement, I have a lot to do, to be honest. I don't need more. I don't need to enlarge my I don't need you to enlarge my territory. I have too much work to accomplish anyway. So please, no. Go further. There are other peoples, they would love to be successful in any territory enlarging. In that moment, it was Jesus explaining me that's exactly the point why he wanted to bless me before, so I would be able to enlarge my territory. And this hit me. That made the Jabez prayer so personal for me, with such a personal, intimate conversation with God. And I have no idea where you are in life right now. Maybe you feel pain all over, mentally and physically. Maybe you feel that life is unfair for you. When you see other people, you think, My life is really unfair. And this prayer could be a way out for you right now, right today. Not that unfairness leaves, but that you could change the perspective, because God can take any situation in our lives in order to make us grow, to make us more like Him, and in order to just show Himself bigger than our circumstances. And I would love to read the Bible verse again together with you on that screen, highlighting some of the words. It says, Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. I mean, this is very impressive. Must be written down at the end of his life. He was more honorable than his brothers. His mother had named him Jabez, saying, I gave birth to him in pain. I mean, this is really bad, but in one sentence, wrapped together his whole life. And then it says, Jabez cried out to the God of Israel. This sticks out to me. He cried out to the God of Israel, oh, that you will bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me, your hand be with me, and keep me from harm. So these are 5 points. And I would love to go through these 5 points together with you, with my own experience in these 5 points, and give you an insight how it could be a way out in your life when you are in unfair circumstances. And I know it must be that in here, sitting people, you have unfair circumstances. And I cannot answer the why, but I would love that you could experience a blessing, something that is given to you in order to just put in and in order to enlarge your territory. And to be honest, sometimes the unfair circumstances is already what you feel comfortable in, even though it's unhealthy, even though it's not good, but you feel comfortable and you don't want to leave that zone. So it all starts with the first request, or with the first thing: acknowledge God. Acknowledge God's greatness. And this is so important. And I would love for you to participate with the QR code that you see on the screen. And you may know how it works. You can scan that QR code. And then I would love for us all that we participate in telling each other, how big is God for you? Even when you are watching us online, this is the moment where we are all together and we see how, and we can read how we experience God's greatness. And it's so important to start with that one. Because when you feel pain, when you feel unfair circumstances, or when you find yourself in these unfair circumstances, this is all we can experience. This is all we can feel. This is all what we are right at. And it's so good to just take where we focused and focus on God, because God is someone bigger than our circumstances, someone greater than our pain. And let's see what there it says. I would love to read, loving Father, source of all goodness, powerful, my closest friend, my only source of help, creator of the universe, powerful, listener, provider, safe place, loving Father again, rock, epic, completeless. God is my Father, always for me. Can you feel how the atmosphere is changing right now when we start to focus on God's greatness, how great He is? And you know, for me, I'm done with maybe 3-4 words, but what it really helps me is to go through the alphabet and take to every letter one word, and that helps me to keep on going for minutes with the greatness of God and focus who He really is. This is the starting point. And then we can ask God to bless us. Bless me, God. Bless me, God. And I am so happy that it's just more than what we see, just more than just the material things. So much more. It might be a song you wake up in the morning that you have in your mind, and then you Google it later and you find out, wow, this content of that song is so encouraging. It just speaks to you, to your situation, to your life. Or it might be a Bible verse, or maybe both, a Bible verse and a song, and you realize there is a message, that it contains a message. And I see the blessing just as ingredients. These are just the ingredients. But we can do something with these ingredients, like baking a cake and then eat it. And because we eat it, it strengthens us. This is the blessing. And I remember one morning, early in the morning, I did an early morning walk. And then I saw something spectacular in nature. And it impressed me very much. I saw a little fox on the trail. He was walking. And I also saw a crow, a black big crow. And that black big crow was aware of the little fox. And the black big crow was crowing so loud and wanted to attack the little fox. But for some reason, it never happened. I was wondering, when is the moment where the crow just jumps down and pecks the fox in the neck and makes him bleeding, or makes him, just wounds him? This never happened. The fox was running. The crow was crowing, but nothing else happened. To see that in the morning, what a surprise. What an unexpected situation. I was blessed with that situation already, because I just felt God gave me to see something you cannot see every day. And this special day was the ICF conference, and on that morning I was also preparing for a message to deliver on stage. While I was preparing that morning, all of a sudden I could hear voices like, "You're gonna mess it up, really. Your message is not interesting at all. No one is interested in what you have to tell and what you have to say. It's not enough, it will not be enough," and so on and so on. I don't know if you have recognized already such voices in your head. I did that morning, when all of a sudden I was reminded of that picture, and I thought, yes, it was the crow, crowing so loud and so made so much fear for that little fox, but the little fox was never attacked physically. And then I thought, yes, it seems to be the same situation. I am the little fox. I will not be attacked by the words of the enemy, obviously. I will not be attacked. And I was so blessed because of that picture early in the morning, that I could just go for it, just withstand all these negative voices. And this was the blessing I experienced it. And imagine, God has a blessing ready for your situation, for your unfair circumstances you find yourself, for your painful circumstances. He has a blessing right now. He has something to deliver for you right now. Why? Because He wants you to grow out of this painful situation. And this is the next step. Enlarge my territory. Ask God for success. This might be challenging, as it was for me. It was challenging to ask for success. As I mentioned before, I don't want to be unsuccessful by purpose, but to be successful, everyone knows it needs action from us. It needs a certain action. It needs that we move out from the comfort zone where we feel at least secure. Not healthy, not good, but at least secure. And this is already a big thing. But you know why it's difficult to step out of the comfort zone? Because after the comfort zone, always comes the fear zone. And not before the fear zone comes the learning zone. And not because the learning zone comes the growth zone, what we all expect. This is where our territory is enlarged, in the growth zone. But we have to go through the fear zone And we have to go through the learning zone and until we reach the growth zone. But God would love to bless you this afternoon, right there where you are, with a blessing for the fear zone. Because He knows we are afraid. And there are so many Bible verses and so many encouragements and so many promises where He says, don't fear, don't be afraid. Because God knows when we go out and take over responsibilities for our situations where we are in, like Jabez, burned in such a bad situation and circumstances that he is named pain. God knows you would need a blessing from Him. So if you know me for longer, then you might have heard that 30 years ago, Leo told me that one day I will be preaching on stage with him. Today I don't do it with him, but nevertheless, back then I was so afraid and so shy and so insecure that I would never have imagined myself preaching on a stage. I grew out of that pain I could feel, of that fear I could feel. I grew out of it. And I conquered the fear zone. I conquered the learning zone until I found myself in a growth zone. I could enlarge my territory. I feel comfortable now here. And I thought with age of 52 that I'm now, that's it. This is the territory enlarging that God wanted to show me, when all of a sudden, in September this year, while we were in a pastor's gathering with all our pastor friends from the ICF movement, one pastor friend told me that she had the impression that I would speak in front of many women. Yeah, I mean, if you know that Ladies' Lounge is around the corner, then you can imagine that this is not very surprising. But I knew exactly that God wanted to tell me, it's time to leave your comfort zone once more and once again. And He gave me already a blessing. And this was the pink e-scooter. Because in January, I had the impression that I would ride a pink scooter in summer. I had no idea, no idea how it would happen. But when we had recorded the story of Christmas and came up with the idea riding on these e-scooters, then I thought, yeah, this is what I already knew before. But surprisingly, I got this e-scooter as a gift. They gave it to me. And I said, Lord Jesus, it makes no sense. Why do you give me something in advance? Why do you tell me something that is just material things? I mean, why is it so important for me to know it already in January? He said, because the life-giving feeling you have when you ride this e-scooter is exactly what I have in store for you when you are preaching in front of people. This was such a blessing. And I was so touched that God really loves to give me something, to give me a feeling, to know how it should feel. It was a blessing in order to go out of my comfort zone again and again and to pass the fear zone. But now comes the next thing. Jabez was asking God to give him power. And you know what? Power is not the same as a blessing. Power is when you not only have the picture, but when you start writing it. And you don't know if the power is working unless you try it, unless you sit on that bike and just, woohoo! Yes, this is the power. This is the power in action. And the blessing for you is not the same as the power. And that's why I'm so impressed that Jabez not only asked for blessing, not only asked for enlarging the territory, but he was aware that he needs a supernatural power in order to come out of his painfuls, of his unfair circumstances. And the same is true for us. I would love for each and every one to know that we not only need a blessing in order to enlarge our territory, but that we also need the supernatural power. And then finally, the last one, he asked God for protection. And I interpreted it that way, that we never forget, that I never forget, that it's not about the miracle. It's not about the blessing, but it's about God, the one who blesses me. And not about my ability, not about the way I do it or the hard I worked for something that I can enlarge my territory, but it's always He who has accomplished it in my life and always brings me back on my knees saying, God, it's all about you. It's all about you. You are the one I would love to focus on.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Hey, our passion for people is that we see them grow in their relationship with Jesus, live fearlessly, and influence their people and the surrounding in a positive way. And if you would like to be part of that vision, we thank you so much for your financial support, because that would make it possible.
I hope that this message spoke to you really. And if you don't have subscribed to our channel, please do this. And it's always a big blessing. Maybe you know some people in your neighborhood or in your friendship, that podcast could be a very cool thing. Just share the link, because it's pretty easy. And I'm looking forward to see you again. Tune in, and God bless you, and see you soon. Bye-bye.